pretty girl has pretty shoes, lovely dress, beautiful hats, fashionable gloves. The pretty girl has everything. But first, she has wonderful cream puff. Cream Puff by Max Factor. With a kiss of a puff, this perfect blend of creamy base and sheer powder creates her flawless complexion. Cream Puff by Max Factor. Perfect for a makeup and a touch-up too. Suddenly, with Cream Puff, your beauty takes wings. Sheer sensation of sheer loveliness. It's Cream Puff. Cream Puff by Max Factor.
Women grow up with beauty products shoved in their faces so that they will be deemed pretty in society. With the driving force of perfection and mass consumption for the price of beauty, the industry in the US is estimated to have a net worth of $528.6 billion in 2022. These expectations are based on societal beauty standards that have always been in place, and these standards have always reflected the attributes of white men and women. The beauty industry has always made a profit off of people's insecurities, and these companies will continue to keep watch on trends to keep up with what can make the most money. However, these products have not reflected physical attributions to women of color due to the lack of inclusivity. They may find that only certain shades can somewhat match their skin tone, but not be consistent with their undertones. While racism in the beauty industry is not as prominent as it was in the early 2000s and late 90s due to the push for diversity, there are still ways to address and confront these issues. White beauty standards have always been an expectation that women of color cannot compete with on a physical or institutional level. When it comes to simple cosmetic products like foundations, there have always been controversies surrounding the need to produce more shades for everyone. In 2018, January 15th, Char Cosmetics released a line of Shape Tape foundations that included 15 shades. Now, this was only a sneak peek, but there were around 3 shades that were for people with a darker complexion, and most of the shades were colors of white. According to reports online, people were furious. Art would say, "We are going to release 10 more shades," and then turned off the comments on the Instagram post of the launch. Not only did they release little to no shade range for people of color, but they prioritized having more light shades first in the promotion, rather than having an even amount of shade ranges. But I will go further on into the situation later on in this video. The cancellation of large companies has slowed down due to people of color being tired of trying to fight with brands that could care less when it comes to marketing to their communities. Fenty Beauty by Rihanna is one of the prime examples of how to show diversity in products and has 50 plus shades of foundation to choose from. And people's reaction to it was overly positive.
I'm not gonna bark at people when you tell me to. No. Personally, I feel like the 40 shades that they started with was a really good start. 40 is what I think the standard should be for most cosmetic brands. So I really felt like that was one of the things that stood out to me about Fenty Beauty. So definitely kudos to her. With Fenty, I felt like they didn't just focus on like the popular shades, they made in between shades. So I have a neutral, I had a cool tone shade that actually worked for me too. There was so much thought put into it.
The beauty and self-care industry can be beneficial to women of color when companies that are part of the industry to begin with address their exclusion of minority groups and launch products that include everyone. Decades after slavery, white people maintained order by separating people of color to establish and maintain the social order of one race over the other. A legislative report from Robert Reese and the Missing Social Movement examining a planned slave revolt in South Carolina in 1822 sought to assuage the concerns of Southern white people by reminding them that free were valuable allies against their slaves. Slave owners believed that because of their mixed race identity with lighter skin tones, they were smarter and hardworking, leading to the mistreatment of darker slaves. The thought of freedom already being something that seemed far away had allowed white people to insert themselves and place a hierarchy into an already unfair system, where not only one race mattered, but how white a person must be.
Black Americans, people believe colorism was the brainchild of a slave owner named Willie Lynch, who taught other slave owners how to control us by dividing us by color. Turns out, the story of Willie Lynch is a hoax. But it felt real because of the fact that slave owners did divide us by color, putting dark slaves in the field and light slaves in the house. This separation caused deep-seated tension and resentment that continues to this day. The resentment is so great that it makes us hypersensitive to issues of complexion, which brings us...
Cosmetic companies continue to undervalue their POC consumers by releasing products in an ordered hierarchy where white people will get their shades of foundation first, and then the darker shades will be released later on. People of color face colorism within not only social media, but also most outlets like advertisements, only putting people of a lighter skin tone in the frame. Black women in the 1940s did have makeup lines focused on them. Still, companies focused on marketing through the use of skin lightening products and merchandise aimed at African Americans also perpetuated skin color bias by frequently utilizing actors and models with light skin tones. Using those kinds of models only further helped people associate being light with a platform or spotlight. But skin tone is not the only factor in considering how a person's features appear more Eurocentric, like having a smaller nose and thinner lips. An example of this would be Rosie the Riveter. The woman in the "We Can Do It" poster is a white woman and a pinup girl who encouraged other women to join the workforce during World War II. This was made during the first wave of feminism. Women fought for equal contracts, property rights, and political rights. The fight didn't include Black people or other people of color who struggled in America, making it an exclusive time that could have contributed to products being placed on the market to lighter skin tones. Due to this, the industry back then didn't seek to empower large communities, but only promoted products that would diminish their value and lead to interpersonalized racism. Skin bleaching is most common in Korea and Asia. For example, in Korea, they have methods of skin lightening by using a cream or a pill that claims to make the consumer look as pale as possible. And the cream can be sold online for $8. The photos contain dark women magically transformed into white women. The practice of it can be linked to how whiteness historically has come to be viewed as the paradigm, the standard, the universal human body, while blackness is seen as deviant, degenerate, and ugly. Many people came to this conclusion and continued trying to treat their skin, but may end up harming themselves. In the tough competition of beauty, colorist ideas of having to lighten skin can also go hand in hand with wearing lighter foundation shades that make the skin dull in comparison.
Kasi minsan, puputok yung veins.
And today's vlog is very interesting and scary kasi I'm gonna show you how I self-inject my beauty.
An image of Eurocentric ideology and soft feminine features is something that companies put out, but does not allow for other images to exist. If a person did not have a foundation shade, or if they were not represented in the cosmetic industry, that person was considered insignificant to society or less than their white superiors. The instilled belief that life is insignificant due to the ongoing issue of not having enough diversity in all beauty products like foundation can lead to others putting themselves above people in other industries as well. Streaming services like Netflix may use light-skinned actors as someone with dark skin may be too much to handle for white audiences, with shows like On My Block, which season 1 is superior in my opinion.
Hey! Damn, Ruby! I see you. I see you. And I'm down with it. I like the freaky. Just like Mom said. What do you
And while some people of color appreciate the crumbs of representation they get, users on Reddit and X talk about how continuing to use light-skinned actors for roles that are more written for accurate portrayals of the original character doesn't sit right with them. And it echoes through to the makeup industry as well when their models are showcasing the 15 shades of beige and the 3 colors of medium or dark that will lead people to not supporting the brand and calling them out for this colorist behavior. behavior. America's use of foundation has been to enhance features and match the subjective norm of beauty culture, while other cultures may use it for ceremonial purposes. Other countries have always had to compete with the westernized version of beauty from an economic standpoint and have caused consequences in many cultural practices of people.
But beauty is in the eye of the colonizer. They talked about how in 19th century Japan there was this tradition of dyeing your teeth black, known as ohaguro. They said as the Western world became a economic and industrial superpower, Japan wanted to compete, so they banned teeth blackening in the 20th century. But it was
a sign of being attractive if someone had blackened teeth in Japan. And then the practice ended. Because of America's rapidly growing economy, the tradition is now rarely seen. Women who did it were deemed to have bad oral hygiene when it was believed to have strengthened teeth and protected them from any environmental problems. Companies have tried to perpetuate a norm onto everyone, but the disregard for others has slowed down with people in the Western world becoming more accepting of others and acknowledgeable of what they think is wrong. The standards in America may change with time, but white people have often had space to exist in the beauty world. Inclusion of all skin tones globally would benefit companies because you would think that they want more customers and more sales profit, but some just don't. Max Factor created the term makeup during the 1920s and created a foundation for white actors to wear on television and is continuing to be sold, but dims in comparison to its competitors. Solely creating makeup for white actors on television or stage, it's not a good look. Other companies may use this to create a profit. Large department stores, they're not going to stock for people of color. The target audience for beauty back then was white women, and it only led to people of color feeling like there was a limited selection in what products they could use. In 1973, Eunice Johnson created Fashion Fair, a cosmetic line founded in 1973, and it was one of the first brands for darker skin tones sold globally. Only marketing towards a certain group of people can lead to certain customers feeling shut out, which makes them not support the company. But Johnson rose to the occasion and built a company that is still marketed towards people with dark skin and uses empowering names with foundation shades. But the persistence of colorism in the cosmetics has led to economic harm to businesses as well as social harm to many American consumers. The social significance of representation and inclusion is the most important priority objective. Going back to Tarte, in 2018, Tarte gave a sneak peek of a new product that caused controversy everywhere. Tarte explained to Pop Sugar that even when the Shade Tape foundation was released, the new colors were already in the works. Tarte reps explained that it would take time to get the full range finished and flawless. If Tarte was concerned about limited shade range, then showing the public shades of beige as an introduction to a product for everyone is not the most ideal. They prioritized their white consumers first and then said that other shades were still being in production, which should have been a concern before posting it. It extended the notion that people of color will always be an afterthought to big companies. And if Tarte had simply released a statement saying they were releasing a new product and maybe some sneak peeks of like 3 different colors of the shades, then maybe there wouldn't have been such a big drama surrounding it and there wouldn't be such a negative stigma around the brand, even though it does sell varied shades today. Retail stores have played a role in colorism through their accessibility of different shades in the makeup aisle. Stores like Walmart are notorious for locking up beauty products, and then it drags people to buy makeup online, which is difficult because finding the right shade involves looking at color in real life. There are stores for beauty products specifically, but some retail employees who aren't professionals attempt to help customers. Of the 5 ladies who use these services, 3 of them reported being color matched incorrectly with shades that were too light for them. This was to show that despite recent efforts to create more shades for people of color, makeup artists on staff lack the proper education and expertise to correctly match people in stores. The management in the stores should do a better job of know who they may be hiring. Having access to in-store shade matching and trying on makeup is why stores like Sephora seem so alluring, and the goal should be customers feeling satisfied with their purchase considering the rising costs these days. The way products are marketed to people of color should be the norm that is set, so others will not have mental distress over their skin type. In a report about body dissatisfaction in the US, which is a negative attitude towards one's body, has been associated with antenatal anxiety and postpartum depression. Not only do such conditions severely impact a mother's quality of life, but they can also have a multi-generational effect, worsening the health outcomes of her child. This is only a statistic taken from mothers, but it shows that everyone can be affected by not liking their appearance. The generational heritage of self-loathing could continue if the crisis of discrimination through bodily parts is something that goes on in the beauty community. Mothers face many adversities as well as massive life changes when giving birth to babies, and westernized beauty should not be that standard for every woman. Marketing products for people above the age of 30 can be ageist at times and try to bring down the customer's overall feeling about themselves. Foundation and makeup should be accessible, and it should not tell people that they will need it because of wrinkles or how years of life have taken a toll on their beauty. Mothers should feel amazing regardless, and America does not stand for that idea of confidence. In social channels like media and advertisements, viewing commercials that appear more inclusive can benefit one's mental well-being. The ability for a consumer to imagine themselves in a product is something that brands should try to aim for because it allows for a larger probability of more inclusive brands. Relating to the theory of selling whiteness, being able to purchase items because they have a shade available for an individual of color gives a person confidence in themselves and in society, meanwhile lessening the burden of a racial hierarchy. Not only providing an inclusive shade range, but also using models who can represent that color is important as well. The idea of selling whiteness is a privilege, and how many people internalize the idea of their skin tone on a ranking system where if it is not near Western beauty standards, then it is associated with ugliness. And how many people internalize the idea of their skin tone on a ranking system where if it is not near Western beauty standards, then it is associated with ugliness. Whiteness has been a norm, and it could be why people have not noticed until now, where social media allows for a space to speak into a void and hope that someone else agrees. The beauty industry knows that its consumers will take what they can get and use it to their advantage to gain power over others or make a difference in the world. Women of color spend nearly 9 times more than our non-black counterparts on ethnic hair products and beauty products. People are willing to spend money on good products in good companies, and asking for more is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can bring a positive idea around the industry. To specify, there is a 75% significance level that diversity has on client loyalty. Diversity is a key factor to prospering economically in a business, regardless of whether a company is diversifying their employees or products released for the public. Clients are more likely to go back to products they can rely on, and people who are aware of where a company stands won't continue their support unless there are changes. If a company is not aware of how diversity has power on a business, they will not make a large profit in their economy and attract and retain customers. Diversity has to matter. A brand's response to the controversy of colorism can affect how it is perceived in the future and could lead to an enablement of colorism treatment or the change that it may need. By reaching into a global market, there will be more consumers who are willing and able to invest in a company that cares for them. In October of 2017, Dove released an advertisement on Facebook for one of their shower products. In the video, 3 women are taking off their shirts that are similar to their skin tone, and the first woman, who's black, takes off her shirt, and it is a white woman. The white woman takes off her shirt to show a Latina woman.
Move Dove ad sparking outrage, being called racially insensitive this morning, and ABC's Adrienne Bankert's here with the story behind it and the company's response for us this morning. Hey, Adrienne.
Hey to all of you. In fact, the ad sparking a big debate and conversations about whether this was a subliminal inference that lighter skin is better or just a big PR mistake. This morning, Dove, the company synonymous with its cleansing bar and real beauty campaigns, apologizing after this image went viral, showing an African-American woman removing her brown shirt with a bottle of Dove body wash at her side, appearing to reveal herself as a white woman in a light-colored top. It was compiled from 4 screen grabs from a 3-second video Dove posted on its Facebook page, showing 3 women of different ethnicities, each removing a t-shirt in matching skin tones to reveal the next. But makeup artist Naomi Blake, who posted this image, tells GMA she created the 4-panel freeze frame to illustrate what she says is the ad's unintended message.
We're putting out these ads with these subliminal messages that are telling young ladies that your darker skin is not beautiful enough. You need to purify and clean yourself. And this was a tone-deaf ad that I felt like it is a forefront representation of colorism in the world.
The advertisement received criticism for perpetuating stereotypes that black people aren't clean. And it was similar to products in the 1900s of soaps showing black babies to white babies. They then responded, Dove is committed to representing the beauty of diversity. In an image we posted this week, we missed the mark in thoughtfully representing women of color, and we deeply regret the offense that it has caused. In the apology, they did admit to offending the audience, which most brands don't do. For example, Tarte made up the excuse on why there have not been darker shades in the first release of its foundation. It is an example of trying to make amends with consumers, but if they had not included the words missing the mark, it would have sit well with the audience. Later on, they posted a longer apology explaining in detail what they had done. There were positive reviews and also some negative reviews, but mostly people trying to encourage Dove to hire a diverse staff. And now their ads include not only different skin tones, but different faces to show not just white beauty. This beauty. The separation of enslaved people were used to establish and maintain the social order of one race over the other. This hierarchy continues to play a role in society, with cosmetic companies undervaluing people of color, compelling customers to think that one shade range comes first before anyone else. Colorism became an outlet for others to release their internalized racism, leading to the structure of industries being built for the disadvantages of certain groups. Inclusion of all skin tones globally would benefit companies by making people feel good about themselves and increasing their profits. And even retail stores have played a role in colorism by providing limited shades in the makeup aisles, leading to the difficulty of finding the right shade. This exclusion can lead to mental distress and negative effects on their mental well-being. Offering an inclusive shade range and using models representing that color is crucial. Selling whiteness can lead to internalizing that idea that people of color cannot afford beauty. The beauty industry should do more to promote more products to all people of color equally. Brands of makeup should be expected to have inclusivity within them, which is a good and positive standard to uphold. Keeping up with those same standards for every cosmetic brand can be difficult due to racism that is continuing to be instituted. Luxury brands do not believe that people darker than brown can afford nice items, when in reality, people of color spend much more on beauty products. Colorism in the cosmetic industry is causing significant damage due to the normalization of historical ideologies. Erasing colorism would benefit businesses, and prioritizing representation and inclusion is crucial if they want to reach a broader audience, or they can wait to get canceled on Twitter. People of color are not just a passing trend, but are important to individuals who want to feel beautiful in makeup. Beauty is subjective and does not need to be a one-size-fits-all solution that does not benefit anyone but the upper rich white class that maintains the drive for exclusion. Asking a brand on social media to be more thoughtful in their advertisements or products to showcase different types of people should always be normalized. It starts with expecting more from and pushing for the industry that claims to make others feel good about themselves, to make people feel beautiful in themselves. Once brands become inclusive and accepting, so do their consumers.